We get all kinds of stuff. It's incredible. Hey, Arthur. Hey, Zach. Dudes. All right. Party. Pizza's on its way. No, just kidding. Well, cool. Well, give me some feedback. What are some of your pet peeves when you're driving on the road or when you're on your motorcycle or when you're operating a motor vehicle? And I will relay them and expound on them and all of those things. Let's see here. Okay, cool, cool, cool. All right. So, one of my pet peeves is people in the left lane. They just don't understand it. It's not about the speed limit or if you're doing it or a little over. It's about if you're not passing or turning left, you should be out of the left lane. And that's always been the case. So if you're cruising on, I-70 going westbound and you're doing 85 in a 75 and you're in the left lane and somebody is behind you, you should move over to the right lane and get out of their way, even if you're both speeding. It's not about that. It's about traffic flow. So yeah, no, no left lane discipline. I like that the way you say that, Zach. Yeah, and of course, here's going to be the stereotypical scenario. You've got some guy or some gal in a low horsepower car, and they're going up the mountain, and it's 8,500 feet, and they're not doing speed limit, and they wanted to pass a semi which is going way below speed limit and doing the best he can, taking his 80,000 pound load up a 7% grade. They're not going to be able to do speed limit. Sorry. So rather than to, wait for a space where you can pull around it and press all the way down on your low horsepower car and do the best you can, most people just pull out and hold up a bunch of other cars. And that's not the best driving technique. Now, I've been in the situation when I was driving trucks. Yep, I would be one of those guys sometime, but I would always put my right turn signal on to let you know I see you and I'm going to pass as fast as I can. And if the grade went higher and I couldn't make the pass, I will be happy to pull back and pull in and let you around because that's what being a courteous driver is. People make mistakes. I'll pull out. I thought I could make the pass. I've got a heavy load. I don't have a big engine in my truck, my tractor trailer, that is. So there I am going up in the left lane, and I get about halfway or three-quarter or next to or even halfway ahead of the truck that I'm trying to pass. And they've got more horsepower than me, whatever it is, and it doesn't look like it's happening. So, two things. First of all, the truck that I'm passing could see my situation, slow down a little bit to facilitate my pass, flash the light so I know that I have clearance to move in, and there you go. Now all the people that I've just held up can get around. So that would be the best way. Or if that doesn't happen, and it usually does happen, um, I can just slow down and pull back in behind that truck and then let the people by. Hello, Mike. Cool. Glad you're here. Okay, let's see. When people are driving on the edge of a car's limit, i.e., a Ford Edge, going down the highway at 100 miles per hour down Eisenhower Pass, when two people come together in the same lane. Oh, you mean an actual crash? Oh my gosh. Well, yeah. Well, that would be bad. But I mean, sometimes it's true. And yeah, Luciano, people will have a car like a Ford Edge. That's your example. So we can use that. Ford Edges do not go that fast. They just don't. I mean, they do other things well, but going fast, especially on a twisty, curvy roadway like I-70, you're going to be right at the limit, pushing the limits, white knuckling it a little bit, and you're probably not going to be paying as much attention as you normally would be if you were more comfortable. Because when people get afraid, usually they look at less, not more. They're they get tunnel vision instead of looking around them even more. But yeah, I mean, I don't normally see that, an actual crash of people coming into the same lane. It actually just happened to a client of mine. But yeah, and it does inconvenience everyone else, Mike. Let's see, Arthur. Okay, coming from experience, no one ever gives a semi room or any understanding what it takes. Yup, truer words were never spoken. I've got a I've got a couple of trailers. One of them is 48 feet long. One of them is 53 feet long, and I have to back it into my driveway whenever I'm going to store it. So I'll put on my flashers and I'll wait for a space and I'll start to back it in. And it only takes me 30 seconds to back it in on average. And some people will just beep their horn and flip me off and all that stuff. And other people will just stop and wait. And when I complete it, they'll give me the thumbs up or they'll applaud or they'll beep their horn in a positive way. So everybody's different. But yeah, semi drivers don't often get the respect that they deserve because people don't know how challenging it is to drive a big vehicle or a semi. Hey Frank, how's one of my favorite crew chiefs? Let's see. Generally speaking, drivers are so aggressive changing lanes and during maneuvers, watching amateur drivers unsettling the vehicle and causing other drivers to take evasive actions. Yep, as we've been on the road trip many a time, my friend, and we are both just looking and shaking our heads. And I'm wanting to throw my business cards out to a lot of people on the road because we could affect positive change. I mean, people can drive better if it was a priority to them. But as we've said so many times, Frank, um, it just doesn't matter. If you're sitting there texting while you're driving or eating a sandwich or putting on your makeup or any of the stuff that we've all seen drivers do when they should have been driving, then yeah, I mean it's obviously not a priority to them. And yeah, that's a pet peeve of mine too, because a lot of these drivers could be way better. Hey, Brian, there you go, buddy. Immediate feedback. Let's see. Mike Newdeck, danger, aggressive drivers. Yes. And here, I've been on both sides of this fence. If you pull up next to me on a merge lane, usually I'm going to have the faster car or truck or whatever it is. And I kind of like to be out front if I can be. So I have been deemed, and probably rightfully so from time to time, an aggressive driver. However, I will not usually be the craziest driver. In other words, if somebody, let's say I out accelerate them pretty much and I think they're going to yield and they're not yielding and they want to see who's the craziest, they can be the craziest. I will back off and you go right ahead, pal, because I don't want to be one of the drivers that they were just talking about and have actual contact because it's a hassle. Accidents are always a hassle. Even if no one's hurt, if there's damage, you got to call insurance companies and then call a body shop. And then, oh, it's just, I mean, it's horrible. And that's if nobody gets hurt. When people get hurt, then it takes on a whole new dynamic. Nothing can change your life in a negative way like a bad car or motorcycle or truck accident. I mean, you could be diagnosed with cancer and you would still have usually longer than if you are, hit badly or in some kind of a car accident where, I mean, your life can be changed, you'll never be the same, or you could be killed instantly. So it's a big deal for most people. It's the most dangerous thing that they do in their lives, um, unless you're a stuntman or a aerobatics pilot or motorcycle road racer. Then who knows. But yeah, so pet peeves is what we're talking about, and we got lots of people hooked up tonight, so that's really cool. I'm loving this, and I still don't know why I can't just do it the first time and have everybody join in, but whatever. At least this is working. So, Brian, it was good to see you out at the track. I haven't forgotten about you. I'll probably give you a call. I'm going to be out at the track tomorrow. Again, I was out at the track all day today, getting another guy started on his SCCA full competition license. And another guy was first time he was ever out on the track, and he was renting one of my Mazda 6s, which he was actually quite surprised how much fun it was. Little 220 horsepower V6 front wheel drive car. He was smiling. And the other guy had a brand new uh, designer spec Miata, and that was a really neat car. So if you saw my post, hey Kevin Carter, you're not late. I just figured out how to get it rolling. So welcome to the party. Um, if you saw my post on Facebook earlier, I asked the question, which was faster, the Spec Miata or the V6 Mazda 6? It's a 2004. The only modification it has is slick tires and exhaust system. And the answer to that question, if you were wondering, is the Spec Miata. Not by a whole lot. The Spec Miata had Toyo tires on it, and I had, like I said, slicks on the Mazda 6. The fastest I've ever gone with the Mazda 6 out at High Plains is a 215, and I did a 214.4 in the Spec Miata. And that was, that's about 90%. You can go, I'm sure we'll go faster than that as we go by. Doug Vickery, hey man. Yep, there you go. Texting drivers. It seems to be a hobby for people on I-25, not just on I-25. The stories we can all tell. I've seen people texting and I've seen people reading a book. And this is as they're going down the highway. I mean, if you're in a traffic jam, that's one thing. Okay, if cars are stopped and you're putzing along and then you stop, I mean, you still shouldn't be reading a book. But okay, I mean, I've been in that situation and I have checked my messages on my phone or responded to a quick text while everybody was stopped. And again, as long as the driving is the priority and you're aware of what's around you and doing whatever you're doing with the phone or, interacting with passengers or talking to people, as long as that's not the priority, if the car is stopped, you have a moment to do that. but only a moment. But when talking on the phone or texting becomes the priority, that's when the risk goes way up. That's when you're sitting there and there's a big gap in front of you and you didn't even see it. And then people get impatient and then they discount you as a driver and then they go around you and that increases the risk. Yeah, Kevin Carter, buddy, I can only imagine the list of stories you could tell. We'll have to get together sometime and see who can tell the most stories. And I know you're going to win because, you know, people call you when they need their car towed and they've already made a big mistake. So yeah, I mean, I can only imagine. And we've talked. I've heard some of the stories, and I never cease to be amazed, even though I've seen some of the stories that we've talked about. Let's see, Brian. Driving anymore is to be surrounded by unpredictable drivers. Everybody seems to be aggressive, dangerous, and unpredictable. Well, come on now. Not everybody. You and I still drive pretty well on the road, I would hope. But I mean, that's all part of the game, to be clear. If you call yourself a safe driver, you have to be able to compensate for all the other bad drivers out there. For instance, if you call yourself a comedian and you can't go to Boone, Iowa and make that crowd laugh, then you're not really a comedian now, are you? You're just somebody that tells funny stories from time to time that can make a couple of people laugh. If you're a comedian, you can make anybody laugh. You can read the crowd. You can adjust your jokes, your timing, whatever it is. I'm not a comedian most of the time. And that's what true comedians can do. So that's what true drivers can do. They compensate for all the bad drivers out there. And our task as a safe driver on the road, or a super safe driver on the road, if you will, is to get from point A to point B and avoid all accidents. That means compensating for all of the bad drivers out there, of which there are many. You don't have to look far if you want to see bad driving or poor technique. So yeah, Mike, safer on the track than yeah, I would agree under most situations, of course, the variety of skill level out on the track, as everybody has seen on a lapping day out at anywhere, whether it's High Plains or Pueblo or La Junta. Yeah, there's a wide variety of skill sets. You have people that they couldn't find the apex if you laid down on it and said roll over me. And then you have other people that are just, really fast, really good, really consistent, and you really love being out on the track with them because you can run really close to them and you know that they're going to have control of their car, and you can be side by side, you can be nose to tail, they can be drafting you, and you know that they're going to have control of their car. And that's where the best racing and the best dicing is, whether it's car or motorcycle. If you're going down the back straightaway and you're racing a motorcycle, or you're following somebody on a track day with a motorcycle and you're tucked in and you guys pop up and you're both right next to each other and you lean into the corner and you're touching elbows, but nobody's about to fall down. And man, that is some good stuff. Hey Dan, welcome to the party. Let's see here. Okay. So that a brake ripple. Oh yeah, so I sometimes take wrinkle out of traffic so that a brake ripple that causes rear end accidents. Okay, I mean what I do is I will just leave a little more following distance, Dan, And maybe we're saying the same thing because yeah, you can get caught up in something like that, and you know, and there you are, as opposed to just leaving a little more space. Or I guess you could touch the brake lights, but that doesn't usually work. Zach, merging is a pet peeve for me. Also disrespect. Oh, and construction, yeah, those guys. Yeah, I would not want that job. Um, but yeah, you're absolutely right. And I love merging. Um, a quick story: when my mom was alive, one of the things that she used to love to see me do was merge on the highway. She had a Civic Si, and she just loved it because we did it at full throttle and went up through the gears, and we had 160 horsepower back then, and that was fun. And you're checking to the side and ahead, looking for your space. You put on your signal, you cruise right into the space. Nobody has to make allowances for you. That's poetry, man. I love merging properly because of that. One of the reasons, because she always loved that. And yeah, guys in construction zones, oh my gosh. I mean, a lot of times people don't even see the signs, and they come up, and the speed limit's like 25, and the guys are out there, or they've got the stop sign out there, and people don't see it till the last minute, and they have to jam on their brakes, or they just come through there too fast, and there they are, and accidents happen. Brian, safer 100 at the track than actually getting to and from the track. I enjoy learning the idiosyncrasies of a driver and finding out where I can pass. Yeah, the dangerous drivers are the unaware drivers. Absolutely. And that's why you race, my friend, is to look at the idiosyncrasies or disadvantages of the driver, and then you get closer and closer and closer, and then you pounce. And that's why we race, because we do that where everybody's licensed and everybody has a car, a pretty good car that's hopefully legal. And for 35 minutes at a super tour or a majors on Sunday, that's what we do, and it's a good time because there's no excuses. If you're on the street, there's always an excuse. And on the track, there's still excuses, but it's the real deal. So yeah, Brian, maybe we'll do some kind of a deal. We'll get you out there in the near future, get you licensed, and I know a guy with a fair amount of race cars, and we can get you squared away. Let's see. I can't stand it when you're at a light and someone squeezes within inches of your fender to get into the turn lane to save 15 seconds and risk a bump on a nice car. Yeah, I agree, Luciano. But there are always those guys. A super safe driver makes it safer for others and removes blind spots, makes room for trucks. Yep, Dan. Um, And we did a episode on super safe driving. There's 7 elements, and I'm not going to go over all of them again. I forget what episode that was, but it would be what makes somebody a safe driver was, I think, one of the episodes. And yeah, if you are compensating for other bad drivers, you can diffuse or lower the risk of the entire situation that you're involved in by just, I mean, a lot of times, because a lot of people follow too closely. What the rule is if you have a regular car, you should be 2 seconds from the person in front of you, meaning that you pick a stationary object like a pole, and then 1001, 1002 before the nose of your car gets to that same pole that the tail of their car was at. So 2 seconds minimum on a regular car, 3 seconds minimum if you have a truck or an SUV because they take longer to stop, higher center of gravity, they weigh more. So it puts you a little bit at a disadvantage. But yep, I couldn't agree with you more. And that's, when I'm going from point A to point B, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm looking around, I'm looking ahead, behind, left mirror, right mirror, reading the signs, checking the gauges, look at the markings. And if somebody starts to tailgate me, which is kind of another one of my pet peeves, then there's 4 things you can do if you have a tailgater. One of them um, is if you're going below speed limit, speed up. If you're in the left lane, move over. If you're in the right lane or it's just a 2-lane road, you can pull off and motion the person around or slow down and pull over and motion them around. And the fourth thing is to increase your following distance. If you're in an SUV and you're 3 seconds behind, then move it gradually to 4 seconds behind. Not by hitting the brakes, but by just easing off the gas just a little bit so that it happens. And yes, Kevin, six is good with a record and a car on it. And when I'm driving my 48-foot trailer and it's loaded, man, that thing stops horribly. I mean, I should probably be an eighth mile behind the next car. Realistically, that does not always happen, especially in traffic. But yeah, the key there, as you well know, is to look far ahead and see the brake lights in advance of maybe 20 cars ahead of you. And then you're braking for that stimulus as opposed to braking just from the car in front of you. And anybody that's driving, any kind of trailer or especially big trailers, that's going to be the technique that they use if they are not going to have accidents. Because if you're targeting with the car in front of you, even if you're 6 car lengths behind, you still may not be able to stop. I had one of my guys, we were going to a race going through Missouri, and he was a little close, and we were in traffic, and a car pulls right in front of us as there's an emergency stop up front, and we saw the sea of red lights, and unfortunately we came in contact, we rear-ended the guy that darted in front of us and then had to jam on his brakes. Nobody was injured, but again, we had to wait and file a report and all that stuff. So it's whenever you're towing a vehicle, you're really at a disadvantage as far as maneuverability. You're not going to be able to accelerate very well. You're really not going to be able to brake very well, and you're not going to be able to corner very well. So all you really have is your awareness and making good decisions as far as minimizing risk in a particular scenario. So yeah. So other pet peeves. Another one for me is people that buy really slow cars that want to race you. Actually, this is kind of fun. I pulled up next to a guy in a Prius. I'm not making this up. I'm in my ZR1 Corvette, and we're on a merge lane. Okay, we've got about a quarter mile, and the light turns green, and I hear him just hit the gas. And I'm like, really? Seriously? What do you think's going to happen here? So I ease into about 1/8 throttle, quarter impulse power for you Star Trek dudes or dudettes. And I mean, I'm like right next to him, and then I roll up to like quarter power and just pull away from him. I mean, it wasn't even I couldn't even tell that he was really at full throttle, except that his car was making a full throttle noise. So I mean, it just cracks me up that that kind of stuff happens instead of just saying, okay, you know, I didn't get a fast car. I wanted an economical car, or I wanted a electric car, or I wanted a hybrid car. And okay, I'm going to be getting better mileage than you, my friend, Mike Pettiford. But as far as the acceleration part of it, that really is not going to be your forte, and just accept it. I mean, when I'm in the ZR1 and I'm driving aggressively, especially on the track, I'm not going to be getting good mileage, and I'm okay with that. I did not buy it for good mileage. If I want mileage, I'll get in my Golf turbo diesel wagon and get over 50 miles per gallon on the highway. So let's see. I agree with that. I get people, yep, in the ZL1, and it's not even worth the gas. I know. It's crazy. It's crazy. And yeah, yeah, that's a cool car. ZL1 1LEs are my favorite Camaro. Those are really good track cars. Um, really, 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 I mean, they don't overheat, they don't run out of brakes, they have plenty of power. I think they do 180, 85 or 180 top speed or something like that. And I think they do a 159 or a 158. I've got it. Excuse me. I've got it on my program as far as what kind of lap time I turned in that car, bone stock. But what a nice car. The only thing, Camaros are a little heavy and they have not quite as much tire as a Corvette, which is why a Corvette's usually going to be a little bit faster stock for stock. Let's see. It's the I need to be first in line syndrome. Yes, sir. I go to those meetings. It's a 12-step program. Not really. But, why do you buy a fast car? There's got to be some advantage, and one of the advantages, if you choose to, it's not an obligation, but if you choose to, is that you get to be a first at the merge. You get to be the first one. So that's worth making, $750 a month payments like I am, isn't it? So anyway, let's see. Okay, so much fun. Okay, a 208 first time. All right, that's getting there. Uh, Come see me and we'll get you even faster if you wish. Um, the other thing that's it's not a pet peeve of mine, but it's really a fun thing is to go to High Plains Raceway with an underpowered car and pass people that have really expensive higher powered cars. It makes me smile. It's it's an activity that I dearly love because I probably will not be in the strata to get some of the super expensive cars that I dearly love to drive. But we'll see. And hey, Emilio, yeah, keep your eyes on the road, buddy. Listening in while he's doing deliveries. Okay, cool. As long as you're focusing on the driving and not what I'm saying, even if it's funny. So so let's see. I guess another one of my pet peeves is when I'm riding a motorcycle is people don't give motorcycles the respect they deserve either. A lot of people will see a motorcycle and they won't perceive it as a threat because if they're in a big SUV or a pickup truck, they're like, well, what can the motorcycle even possibly do to me? And to an extent, that's true. The only thing is, if the motorcycle's going fast enough, I have seen a motorcycle going at very high speed cut a car uh, just about in half. And the people in that particular accident, I believe they died. This was on some kind of a police demonstration thing for a school, and this was years ago. And they brought in, I think it was like a Saturn or something, and the motorcycle is still embedded in the driver's side, and I think one or two or all of the people were killed. And most people don't even think that a motorcycle could do that. Of course, the motorcyclist, I'm assuming, was killed as well. But velocity times mass. If you don't have a lot of mass, but you're traveling at a high rate of speed, you can still do some pretty good damage. So when you're on a motorcycle, you of course have to yield to the larger vehicle, which everything is pretty much a larger vehicle than you. So, the people that are on a motorcycle and they go next to the car and they want to teach the car a lesson, well, a lesson will be taught, but you will not be the teacher, my friend. Matter of fact, I saw a video of some guy, I guess, doing that, and he was on the motorcycle and he like kicked at the truck, and the truck driver swerved, and the motorcycle got out of control and fell down. And it could have been avoided. It's going to be part of the deal. If you're on a motorcycle, you're going to have to yield to cars, even if you should have had the right of way. And guess what? If you're in a car, you're going to have to yield to big trucks, even if you had the right of way, because they will win. Physics 101. An 80,000-pound vehicle will always beat an 8,000-pound vehicle. And an 8,000-pound vehicle will always beat an 800-pound vehicle in an accident. It's pretty much guaranteed. So let's see, Emilio, slower than the speed limit when they see a cop. Yeah, this happened to me just yesterday. We're cruising along I-70, and there's a police officer on the side of the road, and everybody was doing 10 over speed limit. Speed limit was 75, and now people aren't going to go 75, which, okay, I get that. You don't want to get a ticket. But 65, really, in a 75? And again, that accordion's traffic. Everybody's got to hit their brakes. It's just unnecessary. I get it. If you're doing 84 and you didn't see the cop, look at your speedometer, ease off the gas, or lightly brake down to 75, which is speed limit. And guess what? If they didn't already get you, then they're not going to get you because you're doing speed limit. And you can go down to 55 and a 75. And if they already got you on radar or laser, it doesn't matter. They're still going to get you. They'll just say, and you slowed down a little too late. Sign here and appear, sir. You have a nice day. And that'll be that. So, oh, and the other, yeah, when the cop is driving next to you. See, and here's where I have to watch myself, because I have an urge to see, okay, now I know what speed limit is. If I how fast can I go before the cop looks over at me like, what are you doing? And I'll go, one or two over, because I don't like to risk getting tickets. So, that's about it. And I will happily follow the cop or pace. Sometimes the police are going over speed limit and they don't have their lights on, and I'll just kind of tuck in at a discreet distance and keep with the flow of traffic. That's actually the safest way to do it. Even technically, if everybody's speeding, yes, everybody can get a speeding ticket. But safety wise, if big trucks are doing 84 and a 75 and you're the only one doing 75, you're at higher risk for having an accident because you're the one that's going slower than the flow of traffic. Now, none of that will matter if you do the flow of traffic and they pull you out to give you the ticket because you were speeding. But safety wise, keeping with the flow of traffic, they've done study after study, and they've said that that's what actually is the least amount of risk, because you don't stand out. No one has to do anything for you because you're going the same speed as everybody else. Whereas if there's one guy and he or she is going slower, then everybody has to go around them if they want to do speed limit or a little above. So, there's being legal and there's being safe, and most of the time they're the same. But if you have to choose between the two, always choose being safe. If you're going to be rear ended by a tractor trailer and you're the first person at the intersection and the light's red for you, and you look left and look right and you can see the truck, there's no way it's going to stop, and no one's in front of you, run the red light. If there's a cop there, sign the ticket. That's going to be better than getting rear-ended by a semi and spending X number of days or weeks in the hospital if you're lucky. So, whenever you're driving, you want to try to make decisions that put you in the least amount of risk given a particular situation. And that's why you have good awareness. That's why you're always gathering information so that if you're in an emergency or an unexpected situation, you know what's around you, who's behind you, what the speed limit is, what the traffic conditions are, etc., etc. And when you know all that stuff, you can usually make a better decision than if you weren't paying attention. And now you're in an emergency and you don't know if it's safe to change lanes to the right because you haven't been looking in your mirrors. You haven't been gathering information. So you can either chance it, not a good idea, or not use that lane, which could have been a very good escape route and could have easily had you avoid the accident that you either just had or almost had because you had to rely strictly on emergency braking instead of a lane change. So, yeah, it's all about that minimizing the risk, getting from point A to point B, compensating for all the bad drivers out there, and having a good time in the process. I don't know about you guys, but I really love driving and riding. It's just it's therapeutic, you know. I mean, being in a Corvette or any cool car, or not even a cool car, and the road conditions are good, the weather's good. You're on a twisty, curvy road. If you're me, you've got, Aretha Franklin on or Luther Vandross or somebody, and your head's moving, and that's what it's all about. I mean, that's a good time. It doesn't really even matter where you're going. A lot of people only use cars to get from point A to point B, and that's it, and that's all they require. I like to buy stuff that's fun. Pretty much any one of my vehicles, when I operate it, it brings a smile to my face. It's like, yeah, this is fun. I went over to the garage tonight to drop off the Mazda 6 and pick up another car, and I picked up the Golf R, and I put on my left turn signal, make a left hand turn out of the driveway, roll into the turbo, and immediately I start smiling because it's a fun car. It makes cool noises. It's all-wheel drive. The suspension's good. It's comfortable. It's got nice gauges. And yeah, I like that car. So, for all the people that don't get any joy from driving, okay, hopefully they find joy doing other things. There's plenty of things that when I do them, I don't get the joy that other people get. I just don't. Like riding horses. I've done it. It was cool. I like it. I would do it again, but I wouldn't go out of my way to do it. And I think it's really cool, especially some of the places like you get out on a ranch and it's green and you see the mountains and you're on a horse and it's cool stuff. But there's plenty of people that enjoy that even more than I do, you know. And if you're one of my buddies does rodeo, and man, I will live vicariously through you because it's cool to watch. I get the skill, I get the risk. I'm a calculated risk taker myself, but you won't see me on a bull trying to stay on for 8 seconds. No, you really won't ever. It's not on my bucket list of things to do. It's really not. But a lot of people seem to enjoy it. I mean, I've seen, videos, interviews. People have done that all their life and they love it. So let's see, B spec. When did we last mass cars and coffee outing? Oh, Kevin, let's see. We went last month. This month I was out at the track. I had to do a lapping day with some students that were getting their SCCA full competition licenses, so I missed this month. But next month, let's get together or call me or whatever, and let's do that in force again, because I think we got a pretty positive feedback for SCCA and Go For It when we showed up with, I think we did what, 6 cars at one time. We did like 3 vets and 3 solstices or something like that, maybe a spec B. So and it is spec B, not B spec. B spec is the the slower cars that race SCCA, like the Honda Fit and the Mini and stuff like that. Whereas the Spec B, the one that I had, was actually pretty fast. I think you got to drive that car. Yeah, 176 mile an hour Subaru Legacy GT sedan Spec B. That was a cool car. But alas, it had to be sold so that we could get an even cooler car, the C8. So a lot of stuff had to go, actually. So anyway, let's see here. I think we've aired grievances. What's that on Seinfeld? Festivus for the rest of us. Um, yeah, it's great to get together with everybody on Tuesday night. I really enjoy it. And I'm really glad that today, I think everybody got through on the comments and got a chance to be a part of it more. So I hope it was even more enjoyable for you. Let's see. Go to my website, go4itservices.com. The number 4, like on my logo, not FOR. Call me 303 666 4113. The YouTube channel is Go For It Space TV. There's a lot of videos on there. Let's see. Yeah, 3 vets, 1 solstice, and 1 VW. So we only had 5. Okay, I thought we had 6, but yeah, 5. Either way, we were a pretty big hit, and a lot of people, I think, took the SCCA information and took some Go For It business cards, and hopefully SCCA got more members or more people that wanted to race, and hopefully they called me and did some classes. So it's a win-win, and always like to hang out with you guys, as you well know. I miss the monthly meetings where we got together, and hopefully if everybody gets their vaccine, and in a few months hopefully we'll be just about on the other side of it. But keep wearing the masks, keep social distancing, keep washing your hands um, until we're through it, and I think we'll be okay. So, unless there's anybody else that's got any more pet peeves, it's been on for about 45 minutes, almost 50 minutes. So, loved it. And you guys have a good evening. And we will see you next Tuesday. If you have any suggestions on what the topic should be, let me know. So thanks a lot and have a good evening. See you guys. Bye bye.